already joining. I have 40 people joining. So those of you joining, you are welcome, and we want to thank you for deciding to be on the platform, sharing your Saturday evening with us at CTL. We are expecting more people. So as you come in, please go to the chat box and introduce yourself so that we can see you. I see Ebenezer Tufoy is there. Thank you. Ebenezer, Jerry is here. I see Anna is there. Albert is going so fast. So many people coming in. And Laurentia, Freda, Maggie from UK, Victoria, Edwina, thank you. Kweku Fianco is here. Reverend Parisechi is here. Thank you so much. Freda Sare, Village of Hope, thank you. Frederick Bedu, Kweku Fianco, we see you here. Thank you so much, and you are all very welcome. We see more people joining. Bright is here. Thank you very much. So if you're just joining, kindly just introduce yourself and let us welcome you as you come in. So we really appreciate you coming to spend the evening with us. This evening, we are going to have a very important discussion, and we have a very important person to help us with the discussion. And as we go on, I would introduce Doris to all of us. Doris is gladly accepted to be with us this evening. So please, if you are just joining, as we say, please put your name in the chat box. And then if you have any questions as we are going on, you would see the Q&A box. Put your questions in the Q&A, because after our speaker, we would have a lot of opportunity to address your specific issues. Your questions are important part, and for everybody, we deliberately make the presentation short and give more time to questions, because we learn more during the Q&A sessions. So when this presentation is finished, please don't go. You lose a lot when you leave after the presentation. We have more detail, more specific answers which may benefit you. So if you're learning something, if you have some comment, impressions, put it in the chat box. We want to see your learning, your takeaway, what actions you're going to do to improve your financial situation as a leader. And so we welcome all your comments. We're going to talk about personal finances and how they affect you as a leader. We all know that money is very important in every aspect of our life. Unfortunately, even though all of us use money and all of us know the importance of money and we work for money, almost all the time, all our life, we are working for money one way or the other. Our training, our upbringing, our educational system does not deliberately train us on how to handle money. And a lot of us go through life, work hard, and at the end of our 60 years, the next month when our salary stops, we find ourselves in trouble. And when COVID came and some of us had to go home, 1 week in COVID closed down, shut down, some of us were struggling. We didn't even have food to eat. We don't even know how to, save food and so on. And so when you are a leader and your finances are not in good shape, how does it affect you as a leader? And more importantly, how do we manage our finances so that we can have the influence? We know that in our traditional setting, there are various songs and proverbs that the poor man, when you are poor, nobody hears you. And the rich man speaks, everybody listens. But you can be rich even though you don't have much, how do you manage the little you have? We have this evening to help us through the discussion, Mrs. Doris Ahiete. And Doris is a good friend, a John Maxwell member, but is a very special person, you know, a very accomplished professional, an accountant by profession, not just an accountant. At one point, she actually managed the country office of the ACCA, which is the UK Association of Chartered Accountants. And she's worked in the financial and corporate world for several years, almost 20 years. Those of us in Ghana know DataBank. She was once vice president of DataBank. And she was at one point named as one of the top 60 women, you know, notable women in Ghana in finance and banking. Doris prefers to be known as somebody who is committed to advocating for financial freedom and spiritual well-being for people. She is currently the CEO of Crescendo, and she consults and advises people personally on your financial planning. Doris will be happy to have you talk to her after the program to help you in your personal financial planning. And so without too much comments, I want to welcome Doris to take over and to lead us through this evening's discussion. Doris, thank you very much for making the time. And we know we are going to learn a lot from you. Thank you. And you have between 20 and 30 minutes to make your presentation to us. And after that, we will have a lot of interactions. You are welcome, Doris.
Thank you very much, Sam. And let me use the opportunity to say good evening from Accra to all the participants on the call this evening. It's a very kind and humbling opportunity to have this platform to serve all the people on the call. And I'm looking forward to availing myself to be used for something that I'm truly, truly very passionate about. Right. So I want to start our conversation this evening, and Sam has kindly set the tone beautifully for this evening's conversation by alluding to how, for some of us, just 1 month into the lockdown, we started struggling with our finances. And so this discussion couldn't have come at a better time. And I want to say kudos to the leadership of CTL for their foresight for selecting this topic for the evening's conversation. I would like to start with an opening quote by a gentleman that is known as the Prince of Preachers. He lived in the 18th century, and his name is Charles Spurgeon. The quote from Charles Spurgeon that I would like to share with you goes like this.
Doris,
yes.
I don't know if you are sharing, sorry Doris to interrupt you. I don't know if you're sharing your screen or it's not the right time. If you have a presentation, be happy to share it. Thank you.
Okay, so I was waiting for the presentation to roll from your side. Thank you. So I can see that it started showing now. And Charles Spurgeon says so in life, but it is not so hard to earn money as it is to spend it well. Hungry had not fair waste. Hello?
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 Hello, Doris, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
We're hearing
yes.
you.
I can hear you.
I'm hearing you, but it keeps breaking. I don't know of other people,
okay,
whether they are having the same experience. Go on.
Okay.
Is your internet okay?
So, if the Wi-Fi continues like that, I may have to do a backup with the hotspot. So let me just quickly put the hotspot on. Just a moment. I crave your indulgence. The switchover could result in me going off and coming back, but let's see how it goes. Yeah. So just to repeat the quote from Charles Spurgeon, economy is half the battle in life, but it is not so hard to earn money as to spend it well. Hundreds would never have known want if they. Okay, I would like our conversation this evening to go.
I think we are having a challenge.
Outline.
We are having a challenge with your internet.
Okay. So let's see.
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, Doris, your network bandwidth is low, so I guess it's better you use the hotspot.
That's fine. So.
Press *1 to copy this call tune at 26 bits.
The sound is not coming. There's no sound.
Hello.
Hello, Doris. Doris, are you okay? Or maybe you should put off your video so that you can see if you get a better.
I'm sorry. So it has an outline for how the conversation is going to proceed this evening.
So if your internet is very weak, maybe you can put off your video, then we can hear your voice. So you can optimize your network. But let's go on.
Yes, that is fine. Please prompt me if you notice further instability so that I can just switch to audio, switch the video off. So Sam kindly introduced me by quoting my passion, which is to help people achieve financial and spiritual liberation through knowledge sharing. And I'm looking forward to us having a wonderful time this evening, notwithstanding the little hiccup at the start. And so we'll quickly run through some of the stories that Sam has shared with us, and then other experiences that I've become aware of. And we will go on to look at the burning issue on the table. And then we'll look at how leadership qualities are applicable to personal financial planning. We'll look at starting with the end in mind. We'll spend a little bit of time there. And then we'll spend some time on crafting your SMART plan. And then we'll go for how to roll out the plan, the essentials that you should have, which include, very importantly, building character, as well as the continuous learning mindset, which are two very important attitudes or mindsets of leaders. And then we'll look at other essentials. I have about 10 key essentials that should be in the leader's personal finance toolkit. Can we go on to the next slide? But just before that slide, can we kindly do the poll?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have on your screen a question. Those who want to know, those who have banking, finance, and economics background on the call. And we also want to know if COVID has impacted your finances. Just say yes or no, and let's see. We have over 100 people on the call. So we give you 1 minute, 30 more seconds.
Wow. It's quite interesting and telling. And I know that my audience is almost balanced as far as background and appreciation for finance. So just like a quote I came across in the past couple of weeks said that it is really hard when you have to learn something that you already know. And I know that along the line, this would be the experience of some of us. And indeed, sometimes it is not the lack of knowledge that really holds us back. Sometimes there are other nuances or peculiarities that hold us back. So. Can we end the poll now? I can see here, it's looking like about 58% don't have a background in finance broadly, and about 54% have been impacted significantly by COVID-19? Can we kindly end the poll, please? Isaac?
Please, the poll has been ended. You can continue.
Okay, so the relevance of the topic, and I don't play chess. I'm looking forward to the opportunity and the privilege soon to learn and become a chess master. But for now, I only understand this aspect of chess, the checkmate, which is when your king has been attacked by your opponent, and it is not a very pleasant situation. And I like to compare this checkmate situation to what happened to some of us when COVID-19, as a result of that, you have your life going all smoothly, smooth sailing, and you are just enjoying life, pleasure. If you have to take a trip, not a problem. And then suddenly you are asked to not come to work. Some people were given the opportunity to continue working remotely. For some businesses, they've been shut down. For some others, they had to renegotiate their salaries. Some have had salary suspension and all those instances. And so quite a number of people have been impacted. I recall that we have a side business that Warren Buffett says that when you are an investment advice he gives, don't invest in anything that eats. And we happen, because of our passion for well-being, have a business where we have to feed animals. And during the period, we had a situation where we lost some of our key customers because supermarkets could not open. And we have an abundance of the product, organic eggs, and we had to just make sure that we distributed it. And we have to feed the birds. So you ask yourself where the next cash flow is going to come for you to buy the feed. But we made it through somehow. And I believe that there are life stories all over the place. And while some people have had challenges, it's also very informing to note that we have some amongst us that, even though you would think that their inflows are not that much, they have quite weathered the storm very nicely. And this is what actually highlights the difference between those that weathered it smoothly and those that have had challenges. It is the state of affairs as far as their financial management or planning is concerned. And that brings us to the next slide, which basically says the issue on the table, which is of the greatest concern and interest why we are all here this evening, is that how do we take charge of our finances? Most of us are leaders. Either we are leading ourselves as individuals and excelling in whatever potentials or field of endeavor we have. And we have those that also have other leadership commitments and are impacting people in their communities or have positional leadership role. But that notwithstanding, we may have a scenario where our finances do not tell the same story when it comes to how influential we are in our leadership capacity. So I want us to quickly look at the leadership qualities that become very important when we talk about personal finances. And there are two of them that we are going to zero in on. And the first one is the fact that it's important for you to be visionary when it comes to your personal financial planning. Most leaders are considered to be people with vision, and they are able to rally others to buy into their vision, to put in their support so that they can all join hands to make that vision a reality. We, however, have those that may not have paid attention to applying same to their personal finance. So the question I want to throw to everybody on the call is, do you have a vision a financial vision for where you see yourself as an individual, for where you see your family. The quote I have on the screen right here says that someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. Some of us on the call are sitting here and we occupy all sorts of roles and we have all sorts of comfort and conveniences because our parents sacrificed, or some guardians sacrificed, or somebody cared to put something aside or to give us a certain footing and or foundation which made it possible for us to be where we are. We have access to the internet. We are able to connect on this platform. We have less privileged people who are not able to access these convenient facilities. And so the question I want to ask all of us on the call is that, what is our financial vision? For you to put yourself out as a financial leader or a leader who has control of your personal finances, your vision must be clear. And the clarity of this vision need not be a certain amount of money that you have set out to achieve, but it's a 360-degree kind of vision that covers all that you probably would need for your well-being and that of those that are connected to you. I know in this part of the world, we talk about interdependencies. And so you may have one person with about 8 people depending on this person. They may not be part of your nuclear family, but we have this extensive family system where you also need to provide some support. So when you do your financial planning, you have to bring all of that into perspective. And my question is, what vision have you crafted? And so we want to quickly get into that. For some families, the vision that they have set out for themselves is for them to be financially independent, for them to be satisfied, to be able to meet their needs on a daily basis, ongoing basis, as well as have enough to support people in their immediate families, or to be able to also support others in their community. The internet is not my friend. I just got a signal, but let's keep going and see how things turn out. So crafting your vision is the first thing that you need to do. Where do you want to take yourself and your family to as far as your finances are concerned? That's something that requires you to do some introspection, reflection, and then noting down all that you desire for the family. At this particular point, we are doing the second poll just to find out how many of us already have some plan in place, and whether, if we have these plans prepared, that we care to follow them at all. Wow. Okay. This is quite interesting.
Okay, we have over 130 people on the line. 80 so far have answered the first question. I see about 60 or 50 something. We need your feedback to be able to appreciate what's going on. So just say true or false and let's see. So more than half of us have not answer the second question? Do you have a family budget? Yes, let us know. Okay, I think that's it. Doris.
What we are, sorry, what we are seeing is already quite telling, in that as far as budget goes, it's almost like a 50-50. Half of us have a family budget that we, or a personal budget that we abide by, or that guides us in our spending as far as our ending. I know that in most polls, you would find more people having a budget for the spending without actually spending time on the earning part. Some people don't have a good appreciation of the full amount that they are earning. Example, for those who are salaried, you have people who would quote the salary as their income, and that would usually not reflect the full picture, because there are other things that generate some income for them. So in budgeting, it's important that you look at the full picture by going beyond the salary, which you know for sure you are getting. And then you also take an estimate of your side gains, as well as gifts and certain inflows that contribute to your survival or sustenance. Have we ended the polls now? So if the poll has ended, we have 50-50 for the budget, and then for those that have a will, it is encouraging that we have about 17% that have both a will and also have a retirement plan, and they know exactly how their lives are going to be when they go on retirement. Congratulations to you. And then we have about half of us who have neither. We don't have certainty of what our lives are going to be when we go on retirement, and we also have not prepared a will. And we also have quite a number that have the retirement, even though they may not have the will in place. So that's not bad at all. Right. So let's go on to the rubrics of crafting your plan. The first thing we said you needed to do is to have the vision. And once you have determined what that vision is, if you are single, the vision is just for yourself. If you are single and you intend to start a family along the line, then you should think far ahead into the future enough so that the vision covers all that is going to happen with your starting a family. And so the starting point is crafting the vision, where you want to be, what kind of life you want to live as far as your finances are concerned, how much extras you want to have, how much buffers you want to have. All that should be crafted into your vision. The second part is putting together the plan. And the plan is your roadmap. How do I achieve that financial vision that I have set forth for myself, or that we have set forth for ourselves as a family? And the first thing you do in crafting your plan is to take inventory. Again, this is a step that most of us may overlook. Taking inventory is not traditional inventory of how much canned fish do I have, how much of frozen stew for the working women do we have left in the fridge, etc. But we take stock of our wealth, of our financial assets. And I bet that if we did a poll to find out how many of us know exactly how many different investment accounts and savings accounts we have and what the last balance was, some of us have forgotten places where we have done investments, and maybe very few also would have forgotten financial obligations which they have. Perhaps that financial obligation may be student loan that you took, and you've completely forgotten that this is a financial obligation that you must honor. Let me just throw a caution to all of us here that that student loan could not make you at retirement if you don't settle it quickly. Because you may take it for granted, but by the day, it is generating interest and that is accumulating. And before they pay you your retirement entitlements, trust me, that will be netted out. So you better be reminded and take steps to go and clear that student loan if you are like me and you depended on student loan. So you take the inventory, and let me rehash that. It's not only the assets you have that you must list, as well as their latest balances. But it's important that you also, if you have any financial obligations or commitments, that you note them down so that we can net them off to know your actual net position when it comes to financial assets. There may be treasury bills that you have bought, there may be certificates of deposits that you have somewhere. The other day, my husband has been convinced by some young bank relationship managers to invest in stocks that we had already agreed and purchased from their brokerage side. And so you may have had that walked into the bank and then ended up investing in some shares, and you've forgotten that you bought those shares. Okay, so you have to take account of that. Then the next very critical thing we need for a good financial plan is for us to track our cash flows. For some of us, unfortunately, we don't even know how much we spend every month. We don't really know. We know that at the end of the month, we sail through. And on some months, we know that, in some months, we know that it was a bit difficult because some things came up. And so it's very important that as you begin to take charge, take control of your personal finances. And when I say personal finances, it embraces the family where it's a family setup. It's important that you track it for at least 1 month, but ideally 3 months, so that we know in reality that this is how much you actually spend. On food, it is this much; on utilities, it is this much; on discretionary spending, entertainment, etc. This is how much it is looking like. Once you are armed with these two key information, inventory of your financial assets and a trend in your cash flows, and it's not only the spending, the inflows as well. How frequently did your father, for those who are relatively young, visit you from the village and brought you some products? How frequently did you have a speaking gig, or did you have a contract to teach someone, etc., which earned you? Can we go back to the previous slide, please? How often did these inflows come, and what difference did they make in you being able to survive for that particular month? Isaac, kindly go back to the previous slide. Yes. So once you have these, then we go on to the writing of the budget. And for the writing of the budget, I'd like to quote Harvard professor Elizabeth Warren. She also is a US senator. And she proposes this very interesting formula for putting together your budget, which she promoted through her book, All Your Work, The Ultimate Lifetime Money Plan. And she recommends that you spend 50% of your income once you have taken the inventory and you know this is how much you are getting. That 50% of that amount goes towards your daily needs for the month. And then 30% goes towards discretionary spending. So the daily needs typically will be the food, the clothes on your back, your medicals, and those things that you need to stay alive. They are your needs. And then 30% goes towards discretionary, when you want to dine out at a restaurant, when you want to go watch a movie, when your Netflix bill and things like that, which you can do without. That is the 30%. And then she proposes that 20% of your inflows is dedicated towards a savings or some investment plan. So in here is where you are going to cater for retirement planning and other contingencies like your emergency fund, which we'll look at a little later on. And then we also have another author's quote who's proposing that it is better that you do 60-20-20. That is 60% of your income goes towards your needs, 11 covers your daily spend for the month, and then 20% goes towards discretionary, which is the entertainment, etc., that Senator Elizabeth Warren talks about. And then the other 20% goes towards your investment plan. Now, I shared these two options so that you would get the idea that it's entirely up to you. There is no hard and fast rule. There's no fixed standard. It has to be something that works for you. For me, as a Christian, I know that there's a percentage in there that is going towards my tithe. So already for me, I'm not even going to have a 50-20-30, but I'm going to have something like a 50-20-20-10 or something like that. I'll have 4 different important allocations. So you select what works for you. You could be working with a professional that will help and make recommendations that would make you more self-sufficient in what you come out with. And the thoughts that I would like you to consider as far as whether you have a 50-20-30 or a 60-20-20 or a 50-20-20-10 or whatever combination that you think works for you. Please bear in mind that during our active lifetime, we are able to generate additional income unconsciously because we move around a lot, because we are mindful of the opportunities around us, and we have the strength to take advantage of these opportunities. But during the retirement phase of our lives, we typically don't come across these opportunities. And when we come across the opportunities, we may not have the energy and all the resources to leverage them for our benefit. And so I just want to remind you of the fact that if you are living on 50% of your income today, for example, and 20% is what is going towards your future retirement planning, granted, it's going to grow because it will generate some interest for you compounded nicely. Inflation would also be growing over that period, and your spending dynamics will also change because there would be additional health bills that you must settle and give the expectation to your grandchildren. So if you need as much as 50 plus 30% discretionary to survive today, and you are only saving 20% against that time in the future, will that really be enough? Will that really be enough? I'll be happy if you can share your comments on what your thoughts are around this in the chat box or the Q&A. Okay, so for those that, as part of their retirement planning, are seeking to build their own homes, I know those of us in Ghana, we like to put up our own buildings. Some of this 20% might be going towards that house you are building. For those who are paying for mortgages, that may form part of your needs spending, which is like 50%. And very important, you also need to have that emergency fund. Sometimes out of nowhere, there's a situation that you need to finance. Your car is broken down, there's been an accident, there's been a fire, there's some health situation and you have to do surgery, or there's even COVID-19 and you have to stay away from work, or your salary has to be renegotiated. And you should have something in place to take care of those contingencies. And then of course, the other important part of your plan that you should keep in mind is your estate, that you are going to have something left behind when you pass on. When we die, we want to leave a legacy that is more than the investment in our children, but something that would, like, because of the vision that you crafted, you would have somebody sitting under a tree that you planted, right? I can see that we have the next poll up now. And so just to shed a little more light on the retirement planning while the poll is on. In the past, we had some people say that when they go on retirement, their children will take care of them. I want to give you a gentle reminder that the times have changed a bit. And the demands on your children that you are banking on may be such that they may not be able to meet your expectations of how well they take care of you in retirement. So let that be your own responsibility. And more importantly, remember that as a leader, you should show vision and you should show leadership as far as provisions that you make towards your retirement. And then we also have, I've alluded to the fact that the contribution already isn't enough. And so kindly the 3-tier pensions regime allows you to do additional contributions in the 3rd tier that are also tax exempt to the tune of, I think, 16.7%, because the total tax exempt contributions that you can make towards your retirement is 30%. However, the obligatory one is only 18.5%. So the difference is something that you can take the initiative to set additional contributions aside, and you would be graciously exempted from tax on those contributions. And I want to also remind you that, you know, sometime back, the life expectancy was around 60 thereabout, and these days we are living to 85, 90, some people are hitting 100. So after you go on retirement at age 60, bear in mind that you have to be spending what you have set aside during your working life for another up to at least 25 years if you are going to live to 85 and beyond. Then it's important that you think deeply about this and make the necessary provisions, especially if you want to sustain the quality of life, the same standard of life that you currently are living. For me, I think it may be better that you moderate the standard of living throughout than to make it very flamboyant and luxurious now, which simply means that you are also eating into the future. And when that future comes, then there has to be a drop in the standard of living. And that drop sometimes leads some people to an early grave. So we have the next poll result here, and it's asking for whether that people have a buffer, emergency funds. And about 51% of those that have voted say yes, they have an emergency fund in place, and that is beautiful. And about the other half of us have not thought about it. So if we can kindly go on to the next slide, which is about emergency funding. Before we get on to emergency funding, let me quickly touch on your retirement home or the dream house that we all like to build. Kindly let's go to the next slide, please. When we talk about our dream home, as is typical of us, we think about a mansion with so many rooms and upstairs and penthouse and things like that. And what I just want to remind us in view of time constraints is that, remember that at the end of the day, there will probably be only you or you and your wife living in that mansion. And you don't want that mansion to become an albatross in your old age, where you have to pay many caretakers so that they can clean the house up for you. When you are not going into these rooms, they tend to deteriorate very quickly. And so you need to really spend time and money keeping them warm, and your utility bills are also high. When you have to put lights up the house, there are so many light bulbs that don't really add to anything. The ideal dream house for us probably would be something in the region of a 3-bedroom house, because at the end of the day, the children all go out. And if you think you are going to leave that house as a legacy, lately I've been following the building design for those that are for the future. And you can see that the architecture is completely different. Or let me put it this way, how many of us on this call decided that we don't really like the style of the building that our parents left behind for us? And so we've either broken it down and we are building our own, or that we've rented it out and we are working on our own project. And so I think it is, we overestimate what a dream house is and what components should be in there and how that we are going to leave that as a legacy to our children. Because for all we know, our children would not have any interest in that kind of building that we put together. So think again when you are investing in that dream house. If we can kindly go on to the emergency funds. So in financial planning, the ideal emergency fund is not the investments that you have. So you may have investments that are going towards children's education. That's not emergency fund. You may have investments that are going towards a building project, a car purchase. So they are your money, all right, but they may not necessarily be what you should call your emergency fund. Even your retirement fund sitting there is not your emergency fund. Your emergency fund is funds that you have set aside, and it shouldn't be money that is under your mattress or anywhere in your house. It should be in an investment, but the investment should be such that you can easily have access to it. Within a matter of 24, 48 hours, you should have cash in your hand from that emergency fund. And the recommendation is that that money sitting in whatever account should be enough to take care of your living needs for a period not less than 6 months. So in the initial exercise where we did the cash flow tracking, you know that every month this is how much you spend. Multiply that by 6. And that should be the minimum balance that at any point in time should be sitting on your emergency fund. And that is where you go to pull some funds if suddenly you have medical emergencies, or if you have to do some material changes to your house, your home that you live in, some home improvement activity. That's where you take, if your car breaks down or you need to replace your engine, that is where you are going to take the funds from. Or if you are out of job. And it is interesting to note that on average, it took 6 months for you to land a new job when you are transitioning from a previous job. So it makes sense that you have that 6 months window as your minimum. And so I hope that after this call, you go and work it out and see, for those that voted that they have an emergency fund in place, whether indeed the sums that we have in our emergency funds are adequate. More is better. If you have more cover than 6 months, that is great. And it doesn't all have to sit in the emergency fund. If you have more than 6 months, you can deploy them into other investments so that they can potentially generate a little more return for you. Can we kindly go on to the next slide, please? At this section of the conversation, I would like us to draw our minds to what we do with the monies that we set aside, that 20% or 30%, depending on how you've decided to do your budget. Sometimes in Ghana, we tend to think that investment is equal to savings. And this is where I want to draw our attention to the fact that in Banking 101, they actually teach us that when you do a savings, the bank is providing custody for your money. And because they are providing custody for your money, you see that sometimes they actually charge you for keeping that money, assuming that you have a current account. But for savings, you may earn 0 or something little if you are doing it directly. But the investment is a different ballgame. So it is a good idea that you have a savings account where you accumulate your funds. But as the funds accumulate, it makes sense that you let it work for you. In investing, the money is actually working for you. So it's not lying, as it were, in a bank account that you can go and withdraw it when you wish. And so you see that investment account will give you terms and conditions under which you can access the money, because the money is busy multiplying for you. Depending on whether you are saving or investing, whatever balances you have may go faster for you. And so I recommend that by all means have a savings account, but it's even more important and crucial that you have investment. We determine the investment and the risk appetite of different investors to recommend what kind of investment options are ideal for them. And another very key thing to note when it comes to investments is that it is not so much the size of the money you put in an investment that matters, but the frequency and the period of time over which that money has been invested, that is what really counts. And so don't wait for that big balance or windfall before you open that investment account. Start with a sum that you can commit to every month to direct that money, just the same way that you are paying your tithe every month. This tithe is going into an investment account, and then there's the church tithe as well that goes. And over time, each one of the returns is going to generate returns. So there's a multiplication of returns, and that's how you grow your money in investment.
Lady Doris?
Because of
Doris,
yes.
you are getting to the top of the hour. We know we are struck by the internet, but well, if you sum the key points for us, then we can have some time for Q&A.
Other questions?
Yes. Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you too. So like I mentioned just before the notice on time constraints, you need to set something that you can commit to. And I want you to highlight the word committing to or commitment. Commitment. Commitment requires some inner character, and this is where the leader in you must be brought alive. You need to show discipline because it will be hard. Sometimes you see something nice you want to buy, you check and it's not on your budget, and it may not make sense for you to do that spending. And so in behavioral finance, you need to restrain yourself, self-control. And you also need to be diligent and consistent, like I said, as far as your character on finance, personal financial planning is concerned. So build that inner quality of character. That is a disciplined personality, consistency, and diligence. And that is what will make you successful in controlling your finances. The other very crucial attitude that you need to adopt to be successful in investing is a desire and a hunger for fresh knowledge. You should not shut your mind to the little that you know. So constantly seek to improve yourself, your level of financial literacy. So follow the stock market, follow the banking industry, follow trends across the financial industry, read the news, take interest in news coming from the area, development and trends. Speak to your relationship manager at the bank, have questions ready so that you can learn something new. If you can have, let's go to the next slide, please. If you have access to a professional financial advisor, which is recommended, you should always have ready questions for them. Can we kindly go to the next slide? So these are the key attitudes that you need. Character, the character of discipline, diligence, consistency, and then continuous learning mindset. Seeking and desiring to know more, understand what the interest rates are around this time at any point in time. So you can compare your options and take a more informed decision. And continually review the plan. Don't go to bed. And in this era where we have a lot of volatility and uncertainty, the world is becoming more complex and there's a lot of ambiguity. It becomes even more important that your plan, you are executing as you go along with the planning and you are tweaking it by the day. Can we kindly go on to the next slide where I run us quickly through a list of, I can't leave this. I think I alluded to the fact that if you have a SMIT loan, you should quickly pay it off. If you are servicing a loan, debts are not good things. So as much as possible, quickly settle that debt off and take it off. But these are the 10 other things that I haven't spoken about, which I would like you to take note of as we bring the conversation to a close. Have a notebook with a pen. A lot of us try to keep our budget in our minds. I think our brain is not a good place for saving information. It's a good place for thinking and creating. But once we've created and put it to bed, it's good that we have it saved somewhere else. And the brain will be a backup. So please have a notebook and pen. And I say notebook and pen because sometimes we can keep it by our bedside and we make quick references when an idea comes to mind and we don't have our phone or our laptop, we can quickly take it. And then we can quickly just come through and see how we are doing against our plans. Have a safe box. And the safe box is where I expect you to keep that notebook. For some people, you may find bank account numbers and the stock taking or inventory of their financial asset. That's where they will keep them, in that notebook. And so you should keep it in a safe place, a safe box. If you can have a safe in your home, fantastic. And then you should give a trusted person access to where you keep this notebook. There are many people that have died and gone and their families are struggling. They have funds sitting in the bank, they have investments with investment banks, and the family doesn't have a clue. So let somebody have an idea of this notebook where you probably have the inventory list of the accounts and various places. In addition to your budget, you should also create a will. It's very important. When we have time, we can get into it. And please, 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 if somebody loves you and they approach you with a conversation about will, don't think that they don't wish you well. They actually wish you well. Don't think that they want you to die. No, having a will in place does not in any way mean that you are going to die. So please, let's prepare that will for our comfort and for the sake of our loved ones. And then also let's have a professional advisor on hand to advise us on some very critical financial decisions and steps that we want to take. At number 6, have a dependable bank relationship management. Sometimes they can save you time and they can show you options in the bank that can give you room to maneuver on tight days. Have a secure online banking access. As a leader, this will save you a lot of time queuing in the bank and etc., going through traffic to go and do your banking. But be wary of cybersecurity proofing hacks and constantly learn about them and have habits that cover your trail online. Because there are people that are constantly phishing and trying to get your identity, bank account details to try and finish you or steal your money. So be savvy. Be careful when you are signing up to widows who need to move money here and then they need your bank account details. When somebody calls you and they say supply this information so they can update, etc., those are the times when you can opt to be colo or born before computers and decide to go to the bank yourself to provide that information. Be alert. And then the final one, I think I already mentioned that you need to be ready with questions to ask the people that you engage with, and then be intentional. My husband often says that the proof of desire is pursuit. So if you are really committed to taking charge of your personal finances, then commit to the character aspect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doris. Very, very insightful. We need to, so many takeaways, but I don't have time for that. I know everybody has some takeaways. You need to have a financial vision. For me, that is very important. Where do you see yourself and how do you plan towards it? Investment requires discipline, diligence, consistency, character, desire for fresh knowledge, and continuous review of your plans. Those are some of the things I've picked. So I've seen a lot of you put in the chat box that you are learning a lot. And so we expect you to come up with your questions. I have, Doris, 2 questions. One is a question, I think the other one is just a comment. You mentioned the percentages and the person wants to know whether the percentage split should be on your gross or your net income. That is Boachi Dankwa Jerry asked that question. Mr. Yawadun Boatin says he's watching with his 13-year-old son and he has learned a lot. So there's no question in that. Thank you very much, for joining the call. So ladies and gentlemen, we expect your questions. Doris, that's the only question I have for now. So you can answer that. And then as I'm sure people would put their questions in the question box and we go on.
Would you kindly repeat that? I missed it. Hello, Sam.
Okay, Doris, it
The,
says
the question is whether the 60-20-20 or the 50-30-20 should be on your gross or your net.
That's a very interesting one. Please, your gross salary typically isn't your money. The tax man will take their cut. So kindly apply it on your net after all the deductions. It's your take home. Thank you. Wow. Are there any other questions?
What is the best form of investment? What is the best latest form of investment? That's Benjamin asked that one. Mr. Drew says we are financially okay, but when we help others, I don't think the question is complete there. So what is the best latest investment? And we are financially okay, but when we help others, that changes. Should we help others then? All right, so Doris, should we help others when we are in trouble? All right, so answer those two questions.
Yes,
and then please put your learnings, your takeaways in the box, in the chat box, and we will pick them. Your questions in the Q&A.
I'll start with the first one. Is there a best, so I can speak to new investments that have come up, but the new investments necessarily would not be or may not be the best. Let me be quick to also add that when it comes to investments being the best, they are only best for a season. For example, investing in stocks. We tend to invest in stocks when interest rates are not too high. When interest rates are high and attractive, people prefer to just buy some investment product that will generate high returns for them, including treasury bills. But when interest rates are low, businesses are able to expand their operations by borrowing at those low interest rates. And because the interest rates are low, you and I who want to grow our investments or savings are not interested in buying those small returns. That will be the time when we want to partake in the company's expansion. So you see that for that season when interest rates are low, those who have high appetite for risk may resort to the stock market. And the opposite is true. So at any point in time, you may have investments that are good and are doing well. And that's why we need to have a continuous learning mindset and monitor the financial markets, because there will be times when they will not be good anymore. There's no investment that you go in and you just stay on forever. Now, the modern investments that you may have heard about include cryptocurrency. We have sophisticated investment products that are not very popular to individual investors in Ghana, like the derivatives and currency hedging products. But when it comes to crypto, I know that there are people that are pushing crypto investments to Ghanaians and elsewhere in people across the globe. But we also have heard of instances where people's hands have been bent, where tomorrow that cryptocurrency has closed shop and you can't find them anywhere. And so these modern or novel investment products also come with their own categories of risk. You should always examine yourself whether you have that much appetite for the risk before you buy into those investments. Unfortunately, I'm not able to tell that these investments are necessarily the best right now, but those are some of the new investment products that we have in the financial market. The second question says, should we help others or not? Because sometimes when we help others, then they're going to get tougher. I want to answer that question by sharing a story that I may have shared to some people that know me on this call. And it is an old man that was dying, and his children were quite disappointed in him that he didn't have any nice legacy to leave for them. But shortly after he had been buried, one of the children went to a job interview, and her surname made one of the people on the panel ask her if she's connected to that elderly man, and she said yes. And because of the integrity of this man, who only died with the tag of a good man, she was given the position and even higher responsibilities because they expected that the level of integrity of that good man likely has been passed on as the legacy in this daughter. And that was when she was regretful of not paying honor to her father for living a life of integrity. I hope that this can be considered as a good answer for whether we should help the people around us and struggle a little bit or not. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doris. The next question is, can you start a pension scheme at age 30, age 50? The second question is, with the investment, is it possible to have multiple treasury bills in different banks, even though it is processed by the central bank? So if you're putting your money in treasury bills, you put it in different banks. That's number two. Number three, do we set aside a special percentage of our budget for gifts? So take those three quickly as we're running a bit out of the time, Snappy, so that we can go on.
Okay, so yes, the minimum period that you can contribute to enjoy the state pensions, SNAIT Tier 1, and then the privately managed Tier 2 is 15 years. So if you are 30 years, you definitely can start contributing now. And by the time you are age, 30 plus 15 is 45.
The question is whether you can start the pension at 50.
Yes, you can. You can, but because you have less than 15 years to retirement, this would not be in the Tier 1 or the Tier 2. But you can take advantage of the third tier. Even if you are 80 years and you are already on retirement, you can still contribute and invest in the third tier vehicle, because the money that is paid to you as lump sum, you can decide to put it there and earn an income which you take out monthly for your sustenance. So yes, at any age at all, you can contribute. Only that for the mandatory Tier 1 and 2, if you are already 50, you would not be able to sign up for it, but you can sign up to a Tier 3 with any of the corporate trustees. The second question about having multiple treasury bills. I can see with different banks, that's like a diversification strategy should anything go on. But while it may appear that you are diversifying with the banks, treasury bill is treasury bill. The person that you are ultimately giving your money to is the government. So really, you may not have diversified at all. Treasury bills are considered risk-free, and so the returns you get from treasury bill tend to be at the lower end of the range of what you could potentially earn. And so if you are young and you could do other investment that would help you accumulate your money faster, I would recommend that in addition to treasury bills that you have something, but also look at the funds that are managed by the pensions industry. The reason being that they have professionals that would take care of the investment and the administration, and you don't have to worry yourself too much. They'll just account to you in statements. For the third question, it says that should we include gifts in our budget? And it's a yes. Every item that you tend to spend money on should go in your budget. So you know that in this month, that is your father's birthday. Today happens to be my dear daddy's 74th birthday. So you know that this month's budget must have something for him, for that dear one whose birthday is happening. If there's going to be a birthday party, that's a bigger allocation that you need to accommodate. Thank you.
All right. Before we go to the next questions, I want to remind everybody on the call that we have only 20 days to go for Live to Lead. And if you haven't registered already, you are missing out. Over 600,000 people have already registered worldwide for Live to Lead. we want to encourage all of you to go on our website and register. It's only $79, which is like 475 cedis. And this is an investment in yourself. Your ability to earn depends on who you are, your character, your quality. Invest in yourself. We spend a lot of money on so many things, but on ourselves. Invest in yourself, in your growth, in your leadership. So please take advantage. This is going to be very, very, very inspirational. It's going to help you. We have world-class speakers going to speak to us. All right, because there are some questions, I don't want to go on with Live to Lead, but 20 days more, please register. There are a lot of bonuses, lessons already on the site. Once you register, instantly you have access to several videos that will give you different perspective on your leadership, on your life. I encourage you to share with your friends, with your team members, and let them register to be part of Live to Lead 2020. Doris, the next question is, you've talked about different investment funds, but which one is better? Putting 1,000 cedis into one bank, one bulk investment, or splitting it into small compartments or different accounts? Wouldn't that reduce the total gains? I hope you get the question.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. Before I respond to that, let me quickly add that you didn't mention that $79 is actually quite lower than 500 Ghana cedis.
Absolutely.
And given the wealth of benefits that you get from being on that platform and the learning you can do now, please don't miss it for anything. Right.
Well, Doris is saying that because she has always been at Live to Lead, the last 3 Live to Lead we have had. So she can confirm to you the value that you can get. Thank you, Doris.
Definitely. So about trying to do your own diversification by dividing into smaller amounts, let me share a secret here. As an individual, if you are investing and your investing is having savings account, the bank typically is looking for huge sums of money. And so your 10,000 or your 1,000 Ghana cedis, it's actually expensive to them to administer. However, if you approach the same bank with 1 million deposits, you can call the shots and say that this is how much interest I want to command. And then the bank will negotiate with you and come to an agreement. This is what happens when you have invested in a collective investment scheme, okay? So instead of splitting it into bank deposits, definitely if you are doing bank deposits, you will not see the benefits. However, if you have diversified in different investment banking accounts, credible investment banking institutions in good standing, and I recommend you check the Securities and Exchange Commission's website at any point in time, you can tell what their standing is. You can approach the SEC to ask questions for your comfort. They lump up the 1,550 Ghana cedis together, and after it becomes 1 million and they go to negotiate to deposit with the bank for you, the rate is way higher than what you as an individual will get in a savings account. And that's why we recommend investment accounts over savings accounts. And if you are doing that and you've diversified with 2 or 3 different credible institutions, it does not affect the returns that you generate. You are way better off than if you did savings. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'm seeing a few questions in the chat box. They should have been here, but just be snappy on that. Somebody says that he has 5,000. Where would you advise he invest it? Number 2, a question from a Muslim friend says that for religious reasons, they are not allowed to invest to have interest, and they are not allowed to do wills. So what options do you have for our Muslim friends? That's number 2 question. Number 3 question, how do you manage other dependencies coming up with unexpected expenditure monthly when it's affecting your planned budget? So how do you manage that? I'm putting all those questions so that you can put them together because we don't have too much time and we don't want to take people's time for granted. About cryptocurrency, how do we get proper education about how it works so that we can wisely measure the risks involved? Take those ones, and if we have time, we will take the last set of questions.
Okay. So thank you very much. Where should you invest your 5,000 Ghana cedis? We always in personal financial planning need to do a personal profiling of any individual before we can make any recommendation. For example, on this call, our dear friend who asked this question may be 60 years. 60 years and on retirement, you don't have much time to recover. If you should invest in something that will give you high return, but it's risky. And so we need to have a detailed conversation to understand your preferences and your risk profile before we can make a recommendation. So for that one, let me plead with you, if you can get in touch later, I would be happy to assist you to give guidance on where and how you should invest your 5,000 Ghana cedis. To our Muslim friends who are not permitted to have a will or to invest in anything that generates interest, I know that you are able to invest in like a business where you share in the profits. So that would be something that would be interesting for you to do. And we also have Islamic banking. And a few of the banks in Ghana, I'm aware, have Islamic banking products, which makes sure that you are not breaching this religious requirements or commitment that you have. And so the idea is to invest in these things where the profit, the growth in the business is shared by all of you at the end of the day. So there's still a way as far as investment. When it comes to the will, I am not sure what recommendation to give there, but I believe that perhaps in your conversation with the people close to you, you might be able to give them an idea of what gift you would like to give to them or what could be of interest to them. Unfortunately, I can't speak intelligently to that because I don't have a full understanding of that thing. Then the question about recurrent family requests throwing your budget out of gear. You know, at the beginning, I recommended first tracking your finances for 1 month. If you can't track it for long enough, but 3 months ideally. So if you do your tracking, you would see that this particular incident is recurring. And if it's recurring, then you should factor it into your budget so that it doesn't distort your budget. Given that you've seen it happens, please make provision for it in your budget so that it doesn't have to distort your budget, because you can see it is actually part of your monthly spending. And then the fourth question says that where can we get more knowledge on cryptocurrency? I have a number of young finance professionals that I mentor, and I have encouraged a number of them to become thought leaders in the area of cryptocurrency. Some of them are on air, and I encourage them to take these opportunities. Some of them are blogging, and maybe at a much later time, I can share resources where you can go to read about cryptocurrencies. But the ideal position to be in is to have a professional financial advisor. When in doubt, you can always call them to check whether this is safe or this is okay. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have like 5 minutes to the time. When it is 7:30, 8:30, you are free to go because that is our commitment. But if you wish to stay on after 8:30, because we had some loss of time on the internet, Doris has kindly accepted to hang on for another 5 to 10 minutes to take your questions. So that is for your information. All right, the next question, Doris, please, what is your assessment of the financial sector in Ghana now? Do you still recommend we invest now with all the financial issues in this sector? That's the first one. Second, please, most of the time, leaders have a lot of demands from followers, and this tend to affect their personal financials. What is your advice? And the third one, where there's where do various insurance products on our market fit in this discussion? And I think related to that is the question on insurance packages. Are they also investment instruments? So if you take those ones, I think that's the last set of questions I have. And then we can wind up with your last comment.
Sam, I'm sorry, but I only heard the insurance, whether insurance, I lost you. I only heard you say, yeah, whether insurance.
Okay, the insurance was, where do the insurance products on our market fit in these investment discussions? And whether insurance packages are also investment instruments. Is that okay? Doris? Hello?
Her bandwidth is very low. Let me see
Okay.
if I can get her on the phone.
Okay, I think her internet is misbehaving.
MTN is doing in this evening.
Yes.
And I apologize for the stress that this has caused our listeners. So the place for insurance.
Oh, she's frozen.
The place for insurance, to answer that question, I
think Doris's network is not helping.
For the emergency plan.
All right. I think for the person who asked the insurance question, I think what you can take is that, you know, insurance is meant to protect some risk in the future. So if there is some expenditure in the future that you are, you know, not sure of your planning, you need to protect against. For example, you have a house and you're not sure whether, you know, there's going to be a fire, or maybe your children's school fees that in the future that you're not sure of your health. Those contingencies that you cannot control, that is where insurance comes in to be able to help take care of those risks in the future. So in a sense, they are supposed to protect you against risk that you have no control over. There was also a question of whether you should be, we can still invest in the financial market. Yes, even though there are a lot of crises, there are good financial institutions that you can still trust and invest in. Yes, leaders have a lot of demands on their finances, but that is why we are learning this, so that you can plan in order to be able to take care of all the contingencies. But remember that, you know, you cannot take care of every financial demand that comes to you. So you should live within your plan. Even if you have all the money in the world and you want to take on every need in the world, you cannot. Unfortunately, Doris is gone, but we want to thank all of you.
I'm actually here.
Oh, you are there.
I have been here all along, but you've done a fantastic job, Sam, stepping in. Beautiful answers there.
Thank you so much. So if you can just sum up for us and give us your concluding remark.
Thank you very much. So thank you. I've seen some of the comments in the chat box, and I feel fulfilled that I've been of some service to most of the participants on the call today. I'm also very grateful to CTL Africa and Sam and Lady Sarah Jessie for the opportunity. My concluding thought is actually the same quote that I started with, and it is by the Prince of Preachers, Charles Spurgeon. He says that the economy is half the battle in life, but it is not so hard to earn money as it is to spend well. how to spend our money and to spend it well, that is the challenge. That is where the problem really is. It's not so much the economy, it's not so much all the excuses and the complaints and the very tangible reasons that we can give, the extended family, etc. Yes, they are a factor, but the real factor is us as leaders knowing how well to spend our money. And the way you are able to spend your money well is if you have a vision, 1, and 2, that you have a plan in place. Hundreds would never have known want if they had not first known waste. And so ask yourself tonight as you sleep, how much waste really is there in the way you spend your income? Is there any waste at all? Is there any place where you may be more prudent, you may be more diligent? Are there any areas where you may achieve more by being more disciplined? If you were more consistent, would your circumstances be any better? These are my concluding thoughts. I wish you all the very best in taking charge of your personal finances. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doris. And thank everybody for coming. Next week, the same time on this platform, we're going to have another interesting discussion. Sarah and I are going to lead you next week in discussing leading with values. How do values affect our leadership? And you don't want to miss those discussions either. Once again, we want to encourage you to go on our website, live2lead.ctlafrica.com and register for Live to Lead and start learning. There is a lot of good information already online that you can learn. Live to Lead is going to be online this year, and it gives you therefore the opportunity to be part of it. Please don't miss this opportunity for anything. Prepare, you have 20 days to save for it, to raise the money, but if you register now, you start learning immediately. Thank you very much, and God bless all of us for the knowledge that has been shared. May He, God, grant us the wisdom to be able to put them into practice, to improve our financial conditions, and to help us lead better. Thank you all, and God bless you. Have a very, very good night. Thank you.